Okay, this is the November 18, 2020 Special Finance Committee meeting. Meeting is hereby called to order. We're going to begin with a discussion of department head salary requests as well as capital requests. So if you are here to request any salary requests for the future year, if you also have capital projects for next year, you can discuss those at the same time. After that discussion, we're going to move into a discussion of the amendments that were made to the preliminary budget, of which all the town board members are provided with the schedule of the changes, as well as updated amended preliminary budget. And after that, I will be motioning to enter into executive session. So without further ado, we're going to begin with our salary request discussions. First person to begin is our town clerk, Michelle Martinelli.
I'd like to thank everybody for giving us all the opportunity to discuss this with you. For quite a few years now, the town has been discussing parity. The definition of parity is equal pay for equal work. First, I'd like to give you a brief history of the town clerk's office. The town clerk has always had 2 full-time employees, 1 deputy and 1 full-time clerk, along with the town clerk. As time has gone on, since I've been the town clerk, my staff has diminished and our workload has increased. As you are all aware, Bellevue is the only birthing hospital in Schenectady County. My office is responsible for all the vital statistics that comes out of that hospital. With my staff of 1 full-time deputy and 1 part-time deputy, our office is extremely busy. We're constantly busy 5 days a week, 52 weeks of the year. With that being said, the town clerk's office cannot compare to other offices in the town that have seasonal workers. The town clerk's office never has a downtime. I'm fortunate to have 2 deputies who are very dedicated to this office. During the COVID shutdown, the town clerk's office never lulled in the business. We were in the midst of yard waste. When it all started, we were in the midst of yard waste, hundreds of dog licenses from the census that we were processing. Babies were still being delivered. Deaths were still occurring in addition to our daily services that we provide the town residents. This is where equal pay for equal work comes into play. I am very blessed to have a staff that I do. Michelle Mazurek is both the deputy clerk and the deputy registrar. I would like to move her to a grade 11, step 10. And how I came up with this is that would put Michelle more in line with the justice court clerks. Michelle Carroll, who is deputy clerk 2, is part-time. She's here 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, works 9 to 5. I wanted to increase her rate to between 22 and 25. This puts Michelle more in line with community program staff. In my original request for increases for my office, I did put an increase in for myself. Obviously, I'm not going to even think about that with what's going on. But I would like to, I don't know if you would consider this a stipend or what you might put this in the budget as, but an upgrade to my laptop that I constantly use 7 days a week to keep up with everything when I'm at home. If our office has to shut down again, it's just lags. I think it needs to be updated. I've had it for quite a few years. So with that being said, I don't know if you have any questions. I thank you very much for this consideration.
I have a question for you. I don't know if you know the answer, or maybe Janet does, but when you did that dog census last year, you just said you got a lot of licenses. Did you get an increase in revenue in your?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so where is that reflected?
That's I gave you the increase for
So
that.
how much more is it?
It's, we did, I don't remember the actual figure for that. We did probably about 400 to 500 extra dogs between March and June. So that's, that,
The forecast that you showed you.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's, I mean,
yeah, that would be what we would expect for next year in those months.
They went up almost $2,000 from 18 to 19.
okay. But that doesn't pay for this, so, okay. Got it.
Have you talked to Bill about your computer, your laptop?
I have, and he has said that he has been getting new laptops for everyone else that are a little bit faster. But I, didn't know how.
And you don't
But
know
is
if
that
that's
a Bill budget
scheduled?
thing, or is that a Michelle budget thing? You
Exactly.
can answer that question.
It is usually
Department budget.
But if there is money left over, then we can, and that's definitely not the thing. I would rather we get it this year than.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, if I can do that, because I also have to consider the copier. We already talked about the copier. The copier we have now, unfortunately, we've had for only about a year and a half.
Yeah, I was gonna, then we just get you
not
one?
good. They've replaced every part in it, and it's still, we copy hundreds and hundreds of.
So
birth
do we have to
certificates.
buy a new copier, or can we rent a copier? What's the better deal?
So in the past, we've been leasing them,
Yeah,
and this one was just,
we got it because
Yeah.
we got a good price or something. It was some, right?
it was
It was
used. And it's not, unfortunately, it didn't last.
Yeah, we talked about
And
doing an
here-
overall contract for like all, all copiers.
Yeah,
all-
so we had talked about that, and we said once this budget is kind of ironed out, that we would get back into trying to talk to the company and see what we can do.
Next week. So just as an FYI, I did talk to John McPhillips last week, from the county, who's the finance commissioner there, in regards to intermunicipal agreements, and he was very excited about that. So he said the sooner the county manager, Jasmine, myself, and him, we can get in one room and start talking about it. We can definitely start talking about things that we can have agreements for.
That would be great.
Michelle, I have questions about what the increase would be. Like Michelle Mazurki said, grade 11, step 10. I don't know what that is. What would the annual
So-
increase equate to?
If I figured it out, you may have different figures, I'm not sure. It looked to be about $2,220. I'm not sure if I figured that right.
Well, we did actually figure it out.
29, okay, all right, I didn't know how, okay,
How much? About 2,900?
29.
Okay.
So all of her requests together are under $7,000, 6668. Because you still want that 1,000? Was that 1,000 for you, or that 1,000 was for one of the Michelles?
I think that's.
That was-
laptop.
No, this is
No, what was that? I don't have.
the
that.
registrar of vital statistics, but I don't know which registrar. That's for one of the Michelles,
Oh, that
right?
was for the registrar one.
Was that for you?
That was for me, but
That was for you.
That's not.
So now we're down to 566.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, that just keep me as I am.
Okay, so in lieu of that, you just want a new computer, laptop.
Just to, yeah,
Okay,
it just
so
needs
I
to
think
be.
We can arrange that.
Okay.
So it's fine.
And I might find something in my budget now, but with the copier, I just had concerns about that. If there was really going to be enough to pull out of my budget for this year.
We will talk to the company and see if we can ask them to give us as a goodwill loaner till we decide what to do. And if we tell them, if we like it,
Yeah.
we'll talk to them.
Excellent,
Okay.
Isma, thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you very
Michelle.
much.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks.
I think you had a phone call.
Are they second?
Yeah, they are second.
Not you.
Paul Briggs.
Paul Briggs, is he outside? You're up.
I am.
Yeah? Well, it's going to take 2 minutes.
Whatever I said before, I say again. I don't even know what, to be honest with you, I'm not even sure what I asked for.
Oh,
Well, what you asked for and what was asked for on behalf of your department.
No,
might
I'm
not
only
be-
asking about, talking about me. I'm not putting any
Okay,
evidence
I
in
think that
for
would,
my
it's
associate.
unlikely you're going to see that.
What did I ask for?
14,000. 14,000.
Me?
Yeah, that's what you asked.
Just me? I did not. I would have never asked for that kind of money.
Okay, well, it's good because you're not getting that, so.
I think, I thought I asked to go from 52 to like 50. I thought I asked like a $2,500 raise.
Okay.
I would have never asked for 14,000.
Well, let's see, this is why
Did
we're
I?
here now,
I would have never done
clearing
that.
the air.
Okay,
It was, it was a number. I think a number was thrown out. So the difference between that number and your current was 14.
Okay, so,
I think, did I throw out 70? Because I'm doing the math in my head.
Yeah.
70,000? Because that would be around 14, right?
yeah, I think that's what you did.
Okay.
Okay, so you asked.
That's excessive, I agree.
Okay.
So I think a raise of $3,000 to $5,000 would be appropriate.
okay,
Thank you.
Okay.
I didn't know I was supposed to say.
that's okay.
I've never had.
Okay, but then your department has another one, so can somebody else speak to,
Is she here? Did you see Alexis outside?
I did not.
I believe she's coming.
I thought she was coming,
I thought so too.
but we're not on to 4:30.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Who was next then?
Are they here?
Building and planning. Okay. So it's Laura.
I haven't seen anybody outside. Maybe they're just waiting for their times.
It could be.
Actually, yeah, next is tax collector, Daniel Murphy.
At 4:15?
Want me to go round people up?
Yeah.
Tell them to Come in early?
Sure,
Yeah.
earn that
Great.
raise.
Thank you.
There's room in here.
Fran is going to come after, Ray Smith.
Laura?
No, Fran.
Oh, okay. How about Laura?
Laura was right after town clerk.
Right. She was supposed to be 4:15.
Yeah. And 4:21. Okay. Should I go check or
I think that's probably.
Paul will be able to get everybody in here?
Hi.
Hey, Diane.
Hello?
Diane could go. She's not going to talk for a long time.
Sure.
Me, go ahead.
Yeah, why don't you go?
No, me, I talk forever.
That's the 15th.
You could go.
Yep.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm here just to confirm that the amount, not to contest.
Okay, see, there we go. That's
Just to
it.
confirm, not to contest whatsoever. And my full-time for Lois Mosquito. The next.
She's
That would be a
asked,
COLA for Lois?
I don't know,
Okay.
I don't know, the supervisor
There's
can
not.
tell you about COLAs.
We don't have the 2% COLAs built into
Okay.
the budget.
So that's just for her next step, perhaps? Or I
If-
just want to confirm that that's going to be going ahead with the budget, not to contest it
So
whatsoever.
she's fully funded at her current rate of pay. So is she on a grade and a step, I guess is the question. So for next year, she is going to be at the same rate of pay. And that is what's in this budget line number.
Okay, so you just moved it from my part-time line to full-time? In the preliminary budget, there's an increase in my full-time line, which is not myself.
Okay, so we took it from part-time, put it into full-time. What was that reallocation?
Because I think there was discussion that initially her 2019, I believe, resolution was requiring her to go to the rated salary and step schedule.
Mhm.
But I do not see that in the resolution. So she's not on the graded salary step schedule.
Can we put her on it?
I think we can.
That's what I thought when she originally became full-time.
I thought that's
I
what we
don't mean
did
to
for her as
interrupt.
well.
Thank you.
But she's not on it.
So what would we have to do, Janet?
I think you just have to appoint her on the resolution when we do the salary schedule resolution.
Mhm.
You just add her on the salary schedule, and I would say put her at one of the other clerks, the same thing, the deputy, just like the deputy town clerk or a deputy justice.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I
think
can send that.
the
Yep.
resolution that was done, she was in the hourly section,
Right.
instead of the salary.
Right, she was appointed
Hourly,
hourly.
so that was it.
Oh,
We just did
Mhm.
something.
Right, because you didn't know. We adjust on it. You just didn't know. Yeah. So it sounds like it was just an honest.
okay, so it will be that set going forward, and I agree
Yeah.
with that, and I appreciate that, because I'm in her 10-year plus service going into next year. So that will be a resolution?
I think there is a resolution every January, you said?
Yeah, when we vote on the salary schedule, we'd like to do it in December. So just check and make sure that that salary
Right,
schedule
so
is
she'd get her
reflective.
reappointment.
Yeah.
The same when we do her appointment.
Which
Yep.
is in January for
But
2021.
At the org
Yasmin just
meeting.
said she wants to do it in December.
We'll do the salary schedules in December,
Okay.
and then we'll
Oh.
do all the appointments at the org meeting like we always do
Correct.
in January.
So
So just make sure when you look at that salary schedule, that that's the number that was agreed upon whenever, that there was a resolution in 2019, is that what we're saying?
no, I'm saying,
Hourly, she was appointed hourly was what happened.
So she went part-time to full-time per
Right,
that
but we
resolution,
didn't-
but we didn't put her on the schedule.
So
Okay.
I understand what you're looking for. You're looking
Yes.
for us to confirm that she's got a certain rate of pay and she's going to have,
Mhm.
but we're not in a position to be able to do that. The supervisor should be saying that to you right now. So we are just listening to all of you to try to be able to understand what it is. There are a lot of really hard decisions that are going to
Correct.
be made. So-
right, and actually, we understand that, and I
Okay.
understand that as an elected official and a department head.
Of course, I know.
Yeah, so, but
Right.
I guess what I'm looking for is, so will she or will she not have an increase? Based on the,
No. I think that's-
No, because there's no 2% COLAs for next year.
okay,
So whatever grade and step she'll be placed at, for all non-representatives, there's no 2% COLA. So everyone's current rate of pay, unless they're going up a step,
well, will she be going up a step, I guess now?
that we don't know because she's not currently on the salary schedule. So wherever she is placed,
Okay,
she'll be in that grade and step for the year 2021. And she would move up to the next step, perhaps, if on where she was placed on the salary schedule in 2022 is when she may or may not move up to the next step. And that's all, later. You've seen the salary schedule. So if it's, there are certain years like 3 to 5 years where it's the same, and then you jump at year 6 or 7.
mhm.
So it all depends on where she's placed on that salary schedule.
So who will be making that decision where she's placed?
That would be the town board. So we'll be voting on that resolution as part of the salary schedule to place her on a grade and a step.
Okay,
So if you'd like to make a request for where you think she should be, that this would be the time to do it.
okay. So I'm not that familiar with the grade and step salary schedule, so I can't.
You're asking for a raise for Lois.
Based on her years of service and her, if she was never placed, on a salary or a step program, then yes, but I thought the 3,000 was going into the full-time line for Lois. No.
So that's what the supervisor said that, I think that was the previous assumption, that it will get 2%, but it was not, so.
Okay, so in the preliminary budget, there's a 3,081 increase for full-time line, and that's not gonna happen.
I don't know, it's up to the board, to decide yet.
Okay,
But if you want to make a case, that's what everybody's making.
well, I guess that's what I'm making my case, based on her years of service.
Right, because
and-
Lois read in a budget document that she was getting a $4,000 raise, and now you're in a very difficult position. I got it. I hear you, my friend.
Yeah, we've discussed it. She's not, adamant about it.
She's Lois, I know.
Yeah,
You don't have to sell me on Lois.
yeah, I know.
Right.
And, but I'm just saying her years of service, and if she was never placed on a salary schedule, only on hourly, then if you could take that into consideration. With the 3,081, that's all I guess. But if it can't happen, I understand.
Okay,
All right. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
excellent, Diane.
Thank
That
you.
you did a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura's not in the building.
Oh,
Did Laura think
Okay.
she's doing this virtually?
I don't know, but she left.
We have CPA tonight, maybe we should crop. Well, do you mind if I?
Please go right ahead.
A little bit late here. I just have a handout for updated. Are you guys getting used to your shields?
Thank you.
Paper.
thank you.
So I have amended my salary request from the initial ask that I made during my departmental meeting. After reflecting, I mean, this job, it's been a blessing, but I really, this was a quality of life choice. I've learned, a lot more than I anticipated, and I did this because it was the right decision for for me and my children, well, child, and now will be soon to be children. So rather than ask for a traditional salary increase, all I'm asking for is I have not touched my vacation. I think I included a chart. I mean, I took all of my time cards from March 2nd through the present. On average, I'm working 6.5 hours above and beyond what I need to per week. And I don't get paid out on overtime. So I use that as flex. I think that just by 3 a.m., the emails you guys get at 3 a.m. to how often you see me, that I don't think, there's a question as to whether or not I like this job and to whether or not I do, I come to work and I get the job done until it's finished. And so I'm asking for 4 additional weeks of vacation to be used in 2021. And that would be used with my unpaid FMLA. So, I mean, like I said, consistent with kind of this job, how this is, not only do I really enjoy the work that I'm doing, but it's good for my family. I mean, rather than ask for a monetary increase, I'm just looking so that I'm not in a situation where I have unpaid maternity leave in January. So that would be my ask. As of effective January 1st, otherwise I will only have 4 weeks of vacation, and I'm going to definitely be having a C-section. So, I mean, that's going to leave me with, our New York paid family leave, we're working fast to get all the MOAs done, but we can't opt in until we have all of them signed. So, I mean, that's, the brutally honest reason why I'm asking for this instead of a, monetary increase. It seems a little bit unusual, except I went back and looked at the resolutions and I saw as recent as when we appointed our assistant town planner, Clerk Henry, because we couldn't offer him a higher increased salary, we offered him additional vacation. So this wouldn't be something that if was granted after consideration by the town board, that would be in the salary schedule. It would be in a resolution, like at the work meeting when you reappoint. And so I included in this packet just the example that we used for Clerk. Otherwise, yeah, I would have 4 hours or 4 weeks. So this will give me 8. And you wouldn't have to worry about, if you were worried about me wanting to get paid out, I will use it all during my FMLA. So, that's for the justification, like I said, I looked at the number of hours I worked. I don't think I need to go through, I don't do this for the money. I don't do it to say, I helped project this revenue. But I've been working hard to try to find areas where we can be making money, where we're not. I mean, we're working hard on sponsorships at the dog park. That will be obviously, not like huge billboards, but like I've been in touch with, Blue Buffalo, Rachel Ray, like that's a great opportunity where we're looking at $800 per fence little parcel, and it's as easy as making a phone call. So, I mean, I'm trying to find creative ways to bring in revenue and that aren't, are non-traditional. Maybe they're not hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they seem like they would be reoccurring revenue that the town can look at. And I mean, just in terms of, justification, it just seems overwhelming to think that, 5 years ago, I was making $105,000 more than I'll be making this upcoming year. And that was before I had kids. So I just feel as if without the 4 weeks, without being on unpaid maternity leave for 4 weeks would just be unrealistic. I mean, I think I would have to apply for public assistance, not to be dramatic. So that's if anybody has any questions, I tried to include all of the relevant information you need here. And while I'm on maternity leave, I still will plan on having all the resolutions finished. I mean, I know in advance what the typical org meeting resolutions will be. And I'll obviously will be available for, anybody has any questions.
So Alexis, you get 20 days, again, I'm sort of new, so you get 20 days of vacation a year. Is that what? How does it work?
So I've accrued 20 days. So,
Okay.
well, I will have accrued. So right now I have 10 days, but on January 1st, I get 10 more.
Okay.
And then every year thereafter, there's on your 4th anniversary, you get 15 on January 1st. Your 9th, you get 20 days. Like I said, I'm not looking to try to accrue so I can get paid out. I'm just looking to be able to use it all within one period of time to run concurrent with unpaid time. So yeah, it would be 40 days. So I'm asking for 4 more weeks. So that would be 7 hours times 20 days of vacation. Yeah, 140 hours. And so, I mean, in the resolution, like I said, how it was described when Clerk was appointed, it said you shall be credited with 10 days of vacation. That would be above and beyond. So I would just be asking for 20 days. And you could include limiting language that's to be used within that year and to have no cash value.
Approximately like 16,000, right?
Well, so I mean, if
About 16,720, something like that.
that's how much.
That's the cash value of what she's asking for, isn't it?
Yes.
Would you say 16,
16,720.
16,720? Okay.
4 weeks.
If you left, Alexis, if you were leaving, would you be paid out for that anyway? I don't know how, or is that?
I'm not sure. I think
Yeah,
we
I
did.
just read.
To make sure whether she'd be eligible for her.
Oh my God.
Vacation
Oh my
time, personal
How
time,
does it be?
potentially have it for sick time, depending on how much she had.
Okay, that's what I figured, that even if she was leaving,
You'll
she'd
get
be,
it. It's gotta be, yeah, you'll get it.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, right?
Oh my God, I didn't see what
Getting
you guys
better.
are looking at.
He looked like he was
A wasp.
I'm not a killer.
A wasp.
a huge wasp.
It was big.
A killer. What's the killer wasp? The murder hornets.
I'm getting the calculation. So I make $42 an hour. So $42 times 140 hours is what the cash value would be.
Plus your asked for the COVID stipend, right? Because-
No, I won't ask for that until I prove. I figure for the COVID stipend, I'll ask for that once I, continue. I mean,
So, okay.
Yeah.
You said, just, I am new at this, so you'll be working, you're saying you'll be doing legislations and everything?
yeah, they won't be like a true, because I mean, one of the
But
things,
you can't really work during your FMLA and short-term disability.
that's right, you can't be working, you can't be recording hours during
no,
that.
that's why I'm saying in recognition that this would almost be like I'd be on vacation. We're going to have a conversation, I know, meeting on how it's going to how I can play it out in a way where, I have to recognize that I'm going to be recovering from a major surgery and I have a baby, but this would allow me to be on vacation, essentially paid vacation for 8 weeks, or I could come in for not come in, but like be logging an hour here or there. And I mean, I'm sure it's like with all of the I can't expect, Paul, I mean, just to put all of that on one person is a lot. And I mean, I'm sure I'll find time, and I'm sure I'll miss it, to be able to help prepare for at least the resolution, and be a point of contact if there's like a question. So this would kind of provide a little bit of a safeguard so I don't run into the issue. And then perhaps if I need more, I don't expect to be out for more than 8 weeks, but if I did, then I could trigger my FMLA. I just have to use it within the 12 weeks.
It's just, I mean, somebody correctly, if I'm wrong, I think that legally you cannot work, here and there, because it's going to jeopardize you and it's going to jeopardize the town.
No, but I could, if I said I was just taking 8 weeks of vacation, and then I can use, rather than do it under FMLA.
She just can't be on FMLA while working, but you
Yeah.
can work while you're on vacation.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to.
Yeah, she just can't, but to your point, she can't be on FMLA and working, that's not permissible.
Yeah.
And she can't go in and out of FMLA.
Yeah, well, so what I would do is I would basically take the 8 weeks of vacation. And then after that, if I needed to take more time off, then you can use FMLA. You get 12 weeks of FMLA. I wouldn't be using all 12 weeks. I mean, I go stir crazy. I go stir crazy just between Saturday and Sunday. But I could foreseeably, I guess, take unpaid time because you have to use it within within 1 year of the triggering event. So, I mean, if I wanted to extend it. So this basically would allow me, and I'd be using all of my vacation I haven't touched my vacation. That's why I said that I'll have 20 days as of January 1st.
And the rule is it normally wouldn't roll over? Again, I haven't looked
No,
at
I
that.
mean, it rolls over.
It
Yeah,
rolls-
it rolls over. So I mean,
Okay.
I just haven't used it because I know that I'm saving it for this reason. So, I mean, I guess, I'm not saying this is a sacrificial ask. I know what every grant of an accrued paid time is has a monetary value. But I mean, to me, I'm looking at it as this is my way to pragmatically be able to help continue working with the town while I otherwise could be on maternity leave. I mean, albeit it would be unpaid, but I mean, it's not, I'll be very excited and I'm sure I'll miss everyone, but it's not as if this is it's because I want to be at all of these meetings instead of with my newborn. But this is, I think, is what's best for, in recognition of the fact that it's just Paul and I.
So you don't want the COVID stipend?
Well, I mean, the COVID stipend, so I received the COVID stipend, and I mean, I think that I will continue to the COVID stipend, I think, was in recognition of the fact that everyone was cognizant of how much I was working and how demanding it was. I mean, it hasn't really let down, but I figure rather than proactively ask for something, I would rather just have it be, if you decide, Bob continues to be doing a lot with COVID, which I'm assuming will be the case because we have to file a plan. And it seems as if there's a second wave and every day that I'm getting calls about COVID, then that can just be a decision that the town board decides to make, at the time that it's due, when it's earned, rather than proactively say, I would like a stipend today.
So quick question, so would you be able to, you're saying you'll be able to do all the legislation for that whole bunch?
Well, so I mean, I can't say, I think that, this will be things that we can plan. Like, so when Rob Hess left, I know Yasmin was doing a lot of them. I think it would be more of, making sure that we have legal requirements, like we're making sure if something needs to be noticed, if we're doing a local law, just if we have to do any MOAs, if we have to hash out anything with collective bargaining agreements. I'm not picturing myself here with an open wound and I picture myself just being a resource and being able to make sure I look through the agendas and make sure that you can skim through them. And like I said, I think it will be, I'm sure the department, Laura Robertson typically drafts hers, and I think giving enough people enough advance notice in planning ahead is obviously will lead to a lot less confusion than if I were just to go out and, have to just come back as soon as I run out of money. So that is, and, my favorite saying is, you make plans and God laughs. This is my plan as of now, is that my baby will be born in January, and I hope that baby isn't born any sooner, but, I already am pulling all of the folders from, the past December and org meeting and January meetings, just to kind of make sure that we have, all of the things that miscellaneous resolutions that we always forget about. So that's my ask. Like I said, stipends can come out. I think stipends should be, my philosophy should be given when they're earned rather than proactively. So, and like I said, I think this wouldn't be appropriate in a salary schedule because it's not a salary. It would be appropriate in a resolution during the org meeting. But with that said, if I know you guys are making decisions on these, if decisions are being rendered, the decision can be communicated to me before the org meeting, that would be helpful so that I can obviously plan. Because if it's not going to be, then I will go out on FMLA, on the triggering event. But yeah, so that was a lot.
So have you signed off on this? Is this a department request? Okay, I'm just trying to figure out what it is for. Because
Well, I mean, I think you knew.
like Josh Walter coming in and having a separate ask?
I'm pregnant. I mean,
But I didn't know that you requested vacation instead of money.
instead of money, yes. I mean, I had asked for money, increase in salary, but now
Okay.
like I said, this is,
you understand my question, right? Is this the request of the department? Because we don't have any other department where the deputy came in to have their own separate request. So that's why.
yeah, I mean, I know that it was unorthodox, I guess. I mean,
Okay,
if
I'm
you
just,
wanted to just relay it through you, I would have done so. I just think it was a kind of a unique one.
okay.
Do you want to add anything to my request?
So I actually just want to add to that. I think it's appropriate, obviously, to coordinate work, if that's the question. Obviously, how work will be done or how it will be covered through Paul and through Yasmin. That's completely appropriate, how they handle this stuff, not speculate, but have a set plan for resolutions or whatever it is during your timeout. And again, just so I'm clear, I'm not understanding why we need a resolution because I thought you said you have 10 days and you're entitled to those days and they would carry over. And plus you get 10 more days next year. So I'm not clear on why we even need a resolution because it sounds like you're just asking to use that which you're already entitled to.
No, so I will have,
I'm missing something.
so right now, as of today, like I attached my past pay stub, I have 10 days of vacation. So I get if nothing else under the handbook, I get 10 more days on January 1st.
Okay.
So that would be.
And does your time from this year carry over to next year?
Yeah, so that
Okay.
would be 4 weeks. And so I'm
Okay.
saying this would allow it so that I could have 8 weeks of paid vacation that would probably be used intermittently. Because I'm going to have to be out for.
Right, I understand that, but you're not really asking for something you're already entitled to. If your vacation carries over and you get more time, you're just basically
Asking for
asking
more.
to use it all at once during your maternity leave, but it's all stuff your vacation time is entitled to, right? Am I missing
No, I'm
something?
asking I'm only entitled to 10 days.
10 days carried over?
No, 10 days. So every
Total.
year you get an allowance. So I'm saying is that my allowance for January 1st is 10 days. So
And you're asking for an additional 10?
I'm asking for additional. So I would like it would be an additional 4.
4 days or 4 weeks?
4 weeks. So it would be 10. So you get 10 days. So I'd be asking. For
That's
another-
2 weeks. 10 days is 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd be asking.
And you have 10 that are going to carry over. So you're basically asking for an additional 4 weeks of
Yeah, so I'm
paid leave.
asking for an additional 20 days.
Got it.
So like the resolution with Clark, instead of saying credit 10 days of vacation above and beyond, it would say 20 days
I got you. Now I
to
understand.
be used. So that's what the ask is.
Thank you.
So it's unpaid vacation versus paid vacation, that's what that is that.
Got it.
And also, council has to figure out who will be doing the work in the meantime. I didn't even talk to Paul about it. If Paul will be able to handle it, Alexa will be able to handle it, do we need to hire somebody on a part-time basis? I don't know.
Right, can we get
Yeah.
a plan sooner rather
That
than
goes
later
to the
from the
plan
department
issue.
head?
Right.
Okay.
And so did you say your hourly rate was $42, Alexis?
Yeah, under my current,
Okay.
it's $42,1357. I attached a pay
And
stub.
sorry, is your hourly, is your hour or your week based on 35 or 40 hours a week?
35.
Okay, so times under 40, it's like $5,000 then, right? That's my calculation anyway.
Mhm.
So, don't you get a step next year? So you're
Yeah, my
basing it
step-
On this year or next year?
So that's what I make now. My step next year will bring me up to, with no COLA or anything, I think it's 80,072.
So
So
based on whatever that rate is.
$44.
Okay,
Yeah, $44, I think.
Okay.
so everybody gets 15 minutes. We've done this
Yeah.
for a half hour now, so,
Yeah, but yeah, obviously this planning that will take place, but I don't think needs to be done during the.
yeah, and I think we all just need a better understanding of the FMLA versus the,
Yeah. It would
I
be-
just
yeah.
don't know, because it's all new. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who do we have next?
Laura is en route,
Okay,
so
she's coming back.
who's next? Matt's next?
All right,
Yeah, let's
Matt.
let Matt go home. Okay, you're up there.
Hello. So the purpose is for our capital projects as well
We
as.
can also talk about capital.
Salary.
Yes, I would like to do that. That's
So as far as salary increases for next year, I'm not asking for anything for my department other than the steps that people are entitled to and whatever the contracts state in the water and sewer.
Thank you, Matt.
CSA. Other than that, there's nothing else I'm asking for. Capital projects, I think there's a list that was handed out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, Matt, sorry, I'm just wondering, is there anybody in your department that's not covered by an agreement, a collective bargaining agreement or a
Yeah.
salary schedule?
Josh Hawley he's non-represented. So he's like me, he has a step.
He has steps and grades.
Right, but he's
Yeah.
not in a
Yeah.
collective
But he's
bargaining.
not
unit.
collective
Right,
bargaining.
he's not in collective bargaining, so you two are the only ones that are not in a collective
Jess,
bargaining?
is Jess in the white collar?
Jess is in the white collar. Rich Keller and Tony Scavia are also not in the union,
Not in what? I'm
not
sorry.
in the union.
Not in union, but they're on a step and grade
they're-
schedule.
Mhm.
So everyone's either covered by a step and grade schedule or a collective bargaining unit in your unit?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Other than unless you count the guys at the transfer station, they're part-time.
Okay, so except for the part-time
Yeah.
guys, but otherwise, everybody will be addressed, but, a salary schedule, they'll, collective bargaining unit that provides for their, their steps or their increases next year, and then the steps or grades will apply to everybody else.
Yes,
Okay, thanks, Matt.
no problem. So the first one on the list was rehab work at our sanitary sewer pump stations. We have close to 14 stations. They date all the way back to the 1960s. We have to maintain them and do overhauls from time to time. We're doing one we awarded a contract last month. We're doing the Valerie Drive pump station now. There's a couple other large stations that if we don't get ahead of them now, it could turn into an issue where we're having sewage that doesn't pump and becomes an issue with the state and with the property owners as well. So I had put in originally in the operating budget, $67,000 that would cover other than standard maintenance on these pump stations, replacing check valves, buying new pumps. Some of the pumps that are in the stations, they're over 10 years old and they run 24 hours a day on and off. They cycle all the time. If they go down, it's a big deal. And just one pump alone is $5,000 just for not even the interior parts, just the shell of some of these pumps. And some of our larger stations, they all have two pumps for redundancy. So
Matt,
costs can add up.
Matt?
Yes.
I don't think anybody's questioning your projects. So
Okay.
it's 5:00 and we're just.
Okay, sorry.
How
Matt,
about
you
this?
said you had
No,
it in your preliminary?
Hmm?
You
Yeah.
said that you had it in your preliminary budget, is that
It was,
right?
and it was pulled out. Yeah.
And then you pulled it out
And you put it in here.
and now it's here.
Yes.
That interests me. Thank you.
Okay.
So, and then Matt talked to me about the desperate need for another Jeep and 2 pickup trucks. Do you know how much we?
Okay, so currently, the water treatment plant, we have two vehicles down there. One is a truck that we use for hauling materials and plowing. And the other one is another truck that has a plow on it. The older truck is from 2005 with over 100,000 miles on it. I'm looking to replace that truck with a Jeep style or SUV style, small SUV, similar to like what we have in the engineering office or the police have for some of their vehicles.
Mhm.
That would be allowed, and that's typically used on a daily basis to go to the pump stations and also do water sampling and deliver samples to the lab. There's no need for a second plow truck there. And having the SUV would be more useful for the type of operation that we're doing. And it would be cheaper than a pickup truck.
But what you have now, can it survive another year?
It could, it's got we're beginning in the build.
And I'm going to ask you the
process.
same question about the two pickup trucks.
Okay, so the other two pickup trucks, one's a 2009 and the other one is another 2005, was purchased the same time as the other 2005 that I mentioned. That's used by the water and sewer maintenance crew, doing everything, the daily operations, plowing fire hydrants and plowing at our sewer lift stations.
Maybe you can answer this, maybe you can't. Do you know if we bonded for them or did we pay for them outright?
I'm guessing we probably bonded for them at that point.
And do we know if they're coming off the bonding? Are we?
Currently,
bonding with
nothing
them?
is coming off the bonding.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that answers that question.
Yes.
So, I mean, we originally had planned to do these two trucks this year, but we pushed it off to next year.
Right.
We may see additional maintenance costs on the vehicles, but if we had to, I guess we could wait.
Okay.
And then the one thing we passed over, well house rehab / roof replacement, but had $12,000 in the operating budget was pulled out. At our water treatment plant, we have well houses that have concrete roofs and they just need to be maintained. And it was just 3 of those structures we wanted to replace the roofs on those. And the big one at the bottom, water main, $500,000 is not even enough to do what we really need to do, but we've been over the last 10 years or so investing money in our water infrastructure because it is all at that, the town grew so fast years ago. Now we're starting to reach the life expectancy on a lot of this pipe that's in the ground. And if we don't keep up on it and at least do 500,000 a year in projects, we'll end up having bigger expenses and more outages. And I'd like to try to keep the momentum going if we could. We just finished up on the final few days of the Mohawk Road project. That I ended up paying for that project, pooling bonded money that we saved and combined to pay for that project. That was $1.3 million. I'm not looking to do anything that big this year coming up, but if we don't do anything, we're just getting further behind. We have over 100 miles of water main in town, with 100-year life expectancy, and depending on soil conditions, even less. And we're not.
So you have
Money back
specific
in.
places that you want to use this?
Yeah, I have a couple projects that I have in mind, and we'll see how far this will stretch.
Matt, what's been the budget for the, because, right, speaking of the, replacement, we're constantly replacing and we're constantly, having water main outages. And so I don't have the history, like how much do we usually invest in this year after year? And is there like a expectation that we'll get to a certain point and we won't have to do that for another decade or 20 years? Or is it just going to be constantly like this? Is that the forecast?
I would say that we're getting closer to getting the low-hanging fruit taken care of. And then there is some also future planning as far as some pressure reductions in the system that may help to extend the life. But if we don't fix the stuff that is crumbling,
Yeah.
lowering the pressure isn't going to gain you more than a couple of years.
Right. So how many more, again, just how many years have we been at or about this amount?
I would say-
And how many more years do we have left at or about this amount before you can address the pressure issue?
I think we're probably about 5 years from 2 to 5 years from really getting into doing the pressure reduction. That includes a pretty large project if we do that, though. It would involve another water tank,
Yep,
additional pump stations, pressure reduced zones. So it would be a large.
very
project.
large investment, yeah.
But if you don't fix the main arteries going to those areas or well-known areas where we have repeated breaks, this is much more effective to do this now, and then what's remaining would be extended. The life of the pipe would be extended. But I would say about $500,000 has been my request since I took over for Rich, and Rich was asking me for at least that. We were able, thankfully, we
Yeah.
received 750 last year.
Mhm.
That was what we needed because Mohawk Road was such a large project to pay for that.
Right,
But 500,000 for at least the last 10 years. I'd
okay,
say.
and then you expect another 2 to 5 at about that, and then we'd be looking at,
And then maybe a
Larger project.
large project, and then we can start scaling back.
yeah, all right. Just we want to have an understanding for our taxpayers about the future investment and what that looks like.
And really what happened was that whole investment was really a Joe Landry thing. There was not that kind of level of investment by his predecessor. And there was none. I mean, and he knew it. I mean, he wasn't, that wasn't the way he wanted to spend his money. And so then that was really Joe Landry started thinking about it. And then when I got here, this was really what we wanted to do and be able to have that regular scheduled maintenance. But if you talked to Luke Smith when he was leaving, that was the first thing he'd said. It's crumbling under my feet. It's a lot of work, and he knew it. So,
And I can start to show the data too. That's our number of breaks every year is reducing, and that savings right there in overtime and materials and Mohawk Road. Just one break on Mohawk Road was more than 24-hour experience and thousands and thousands of dollars in materials. And then the disruption to the residents, the boil water orders that were resulted from that. The new line's on right now, and the old line has been turned off. So it's good.
it looks good.
So they're doing the final cleanup now on it and some paving, and they have one additional connection to make at the top of the hill, but no longer have to worry about that letting
No,
go.
it's great. They moved quickly.
But that 500,000 wouldn't get me to where we need to, but I'm also trying to be realistic in the times that we're in right now. I don't want to fall behind and then play catch up like we had to 10 years ago.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. That was great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Okay. Laura, we'll do you next.
Sorry about that, guys. I had zoning board for tonight and all town board stuff tomorrow, and that was just in my brain. Sorry about that. So I don't know what you have in front of you, but when I submitted my budget request to Isma and Janet and Yasmin, I had additional notes at the end. And they included requesting, basically, I mean, I sometimes say raise, but I'm really just trying to restructure my department because I think that it's kind of been a hodgepodge over the years of things being moved around. Like, I'm not sure that the planner was always in charge of the building department. And sometimes that confuses people when there's a building part in question and they have to refer them to their town supervisor, and the building inspector's town supervisor is the town planner. That's not an irregular thing, but I do think that the department has shifted around over time. It's been kind of a moving target. And for that reason, I think some of the titles and some of the job descriptions aren't really reflective of what we do. So in my proposal, I was just talking about bringing people up to the title that they actually do. So like right now, I think it's a bit unusual for the level of work that Linda does, that she has tried to take this test and would love to take this test, to be like an IPS 3. She does manage the interns. She does a lot of different work across many of the departments, would be very comfortable taking that test. And I think that probably more adequately reflects the level of work that she does. Jean too, we appointed her as account clerk. She's way more than an account clerk. She does minutes. She does, she does all kinds of things in our department. And I know that that's kind of been a slow process, but I do think, and this is just anecdotal because I don't have the numbers in front of me tonight, that she's one of the lowest paid clerks in the town. I believe that she made more money overseeing the pool in the summertime than she makes in my department. And I can tell you, I mean, I love that she works at the pool. She's very good at it, but I would much rather that her work in my department and the level of work that she's doing in my department, I would think is equal or above managing, the pool. So just.
You don't know that.
Well, I don't actually know that. I'm hopeful. But those are just examples. And, I've said this before, like my civil service title is planner one. And planner one is typically somebody who works underneath other planners and is supervised by other planners. That's clearly not reflective of what I do. I supervise 2 departments and I have a planner underneath me. So like typically, if you look at the civil service structure of those titles, it would be at least a planner 2 or a planner 3. And I just did, a salary search, like the closest and my target that I love to be like is Bethlehem. Bethlehem, the guy, Rob Leslie, is one of the most amazing planners I've ever met. He does a great job at Bethlehem. I think he oversees one more person than I do. And his current salary on, see-through New York is $111,000, and I could work here for 30 years and I would only ever be at 95. And so I'm on a lesser grade than the town assessor and the deputy superintendents. And I just think that that's just because things have changed over time and the roles have changed over time, but the titles and the grades really haven't. So I'm just asking to restructure the way that our department works out of equity.
Staff would be affected. It's you mentioned Jean, you mentioned Linda.
Well, another thing is, I think right now Clerk is appointed as an assistant planner. I think it would make more sense to have him be a planner or a deputy.
And that's part of the plan?
Yeah, that's what I have. The building inspectors, they do pretty good. They are taking on an additional role of fire inspections, which, is it's just extra work for them. But I don't really know that you can change the building inspector title, but I think that the titles for the kind of the surrounding and supporting to the staff need to be updated and restructured and really reflect what we do.
So it's a total of 4 people? Is
Yes,
that right? All right.
me, Clark, Linda, and Jean.
All right. Thanks, Laura. I don't have that detail here. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys hear me say this every year. I just have to say it every year. I mean, we manage over 50 different people, 7 different boards and committees. We've brought in over $1 million of grants to the town that we are constantly working on. And sometimes our projects aren't super popular with the town, but I think that generally speaking, even if people don't agree with what we have to do by code, they can agree that we treat them all professionally and we try to listen. So, I mean, I try to keep them at a very high level of professionalism. It's a difficult job, all of them, building inspectors, planners.
So would that restructuring result in a $35,000 increase? Is that what the planning department restructure is?
Is that, okay, yeah, that must be what Ismat figured out for me. Yes, thank you, Ismat.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I hadn't seen that number, actually. That was just what I had put in for my request, so I appreciate that it was done.
I think we showed it to you, the other 2 things you haven't here for the CAT and the complete initiative.
Is all in there?
We talked about that.
Oh, okay.
A few times, yeah, so it's in here, we can talk about it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And you all do a great job. So thanks, Laura.
Right, and so then just the other things that we had talked about, what that Ismet just mentioned, is the natural resource inventory, which we think would help with our open spaces and maintaining our green spaces, because not only are you inventorying town-owned land, but you're also actually looking at what's left of private land, and so it would give you a sense of, what could be developed, what needs to be protected. Hopefully it would help when we're having these subdivisions that people feel like are forever wild, that they want the town to buy up. You hear this fairly regularly, like, why can't the town just buy that land? I think it's very helpful to have a plan that says, well, this is really why. Like, the town can only spend a certain amount of dollars, and we have done this habitat assessment. And we want to invest any of the public dollars, and if we're doing public dollars for open space, which of course I would always support, would be that we want to put those dollars to the most beneficial habitat that we have left in our town. And you can rank that habitat based on, usability to the public, based on, habitat for butterflies, whatever you want to say. But like all of that would be figured out ahead of time so that you would have like a pretty clear ability to say, we know that you like your trees. They're super valuable. We are going to protect them. Or we know you like your trees. Unfortunately, like, we have a fair amount of that habitat. The subdivider does have a right to subdivide this. We're going to try and invest elsewhere and protect, what we can. And I do have a potential to have an intern work on this, but it's not the same as if we just hire a contractor. Like an intern might be able to get started on it and bring this down a little bit. But it's a great planning tool. It would also be a great planning tool for the planning board and for my office so that we really know what's out there in terms of open space.
Could we have an intern started, like if we didn't have enough money this year, but we made the commitment to
Get
the
it.
concept? I mean, you know, you've got me on this, right? So,
Yes,
can
I
we
do
get an
think
intern
like
to get started on it, and
Yes.
then we would, you know,
see where it lands, how far an intern can get, what.
would you be willing to do that, Laura?
Yeah,
I mean, I know it's a
absolutely.
lot to ask of you, but, you know, I mean, we're just trying to make all of it work, right?
Yeah, it was kind of a recent development that there may be an intern out there that is willing to take it on. We had such good experience with Brian Toy.
Yeah.
And always be like, okay, intern, like take on this giant plan, but it has worked. And you know, that's how we have our ADA transition plan. So I'm willing to look into that. And then it just folds right into my budget for now, and then we can figure it out next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that would be great. I'd appreciate that.
So would the intern just be provided a list, or how would they
Know what.
ascertain? Yeah, nowhere to begin even.
Yeah, so because this all
Right.
came because, you know, we're trying to be climate smart community certified, and this is a priority action. And so
Do they give us a template?
they give you a template.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Okay.
And there's very clear things that you have to do in order to meet this action. So not only does it help us, you know, figure out what we need in our town, and there's other plans that you can look at and mirror and follow. Of course, Bethlehem is an amazing one. Is that yeah.
Good.
So that you can get those points. So you have to hit all those, you know, those criteria, which you can just follow. Yeah, so, and the Complete Streets had talked about rolling into capital projects account so that we can start slowly funding sidewalks. I mean, I love it, and I know that you guys support that. You guys have all been incredibly supportive of Complete Streets, but if we do have to roll that into next year, a couple years later, I do think that we still have grants that we're working on these Complete Streets projects. So even though it's a good idea, I think to start be thinking about like going forward where, you know, where we can make these connections and how we're going to pay for them. I think right now with the grants that we have, we are making those connections. So if we needed to push it off for a year, but I would say that if we do have it as a high priority, which we do, and I think that, you know, you guys are all great about supporting Complete Streets, we just got to keep that in our minds that it's going to need money.
But Laura, you know, I know we would like a reserve fund. That would be great. But if you have a capital project now that could go, why don't you give us that? That it might just, we might have more flexibility to.
And that works better than
something, right?
the rolling fund.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
at least to start, right? We, you know, if we made some sort of commitment to Complete Streets and.
And actually, I mean, yeah, so if that's the way that you would want to see it, that is.
There's no cash, right?
Right.
So-
So that would, there's actually a couple of projects, and there is it's part of, I think it's TAP or STIP. I occasionally confuse them. But there is a grant project that's rolling out soon that is entirely sidewalk pedestrian related. And so like the two kind of priorities that we've talked about more recently is the Rosendale connection that's got a lot of public support, which is really important for sidewalks. And then we've also talked about redoing Grand Boulevard because it's such a patchwork
Right.
and there's a lot of people walking on it. And so that can be an offline conversation, but if it's more specific to project, I think we have two that we could probably work on, and we also have a potential funding source that we might be able to use.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And you could get a handle on what you think it would cost?
Yeah,
At least
yep.
Rosendale, right?
I
We
mean,
talked-
the Complete Streets already did an estimate. I mean, Rosendale's up there, like to probably do the entire thing, it's probably in the range of like about $1 million. Yeah. But, you know, and that's probably beyond the scope of what you can get for TAP, but you could break it into segments so that you started it.
But why would we do Rosendale?
Well, this is actually what we've done a couple times, like, and you know, like we've come up with these ideas and the
Yeah.
county doesn't really appreciate this.
Right.
And then we get them
Joseph
rolling
Lane,
and then the
yeah,
county
right.
takes over the engineering. It works
Right.
great. Grand Boulevard is also county.
I know.
Yeah.
So why would we do either of those projects?
Well, we probably wouldn't, but we could identify them and work with them.
Good, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then.
That's what I thought we were doing on at least Rosendale.
Yeah.
Whatever, but it's public.
Yeah, and that ends up being, you know, kind of a larger conversation, but those two are kind of the critical ones that the Complete Streets as larger projects was thinking about working on.
They've got the idea on Cornelius or something too, don't they?
Yeah, the sidewalk on Cornelia, and that would be ours.
Right, do we get a price tag on that?
Yeah, we could do that one. And that one won't be as bad.
No, it will not.
That's just one, well, it's like a really, really long block. It's probably actually more like two.
I want Bill Chapman, for the record, to know that I did raise the Cornelius sidewalks issue in this meeting.
And I feel like he feels very supported by you guys, but if he was standing here, he would have a long conversation with you about how, But the capital funds, I think, works too, targeting a project and just seeing if we can fund those on a yearly basis.
That'd be great.
Would be. Yeah. And we decided for the ADA transition plan, we're doing 7,000 for Route 7 this year, and we'll just carry the heavier thing forward for next year. That's what we decided, I think, at my budget meeting. You guys remember that?
Yeah, we're starting small next year and then we'll do the carryover and spend more.
So rather
We'll have
than
to spend
setting
more
aside
later.
89,000 this year, you will just pay for the very first item that we decided that we were going to do. Yeah, oh, is it 10? Okay, 10. And then that just means we have a bigger set aside for like the third and fourth year that we have to undertake.
I understand.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I said, we said we don't have any money, so we will see if we can bond it, whatever we need. to do.
Yeah, for the following items.
Years are lower and then the last 2 years pick up, so.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions on those? I really appreciate you being flexible. I was literally sitting in a car repair shop with no car when Jean called me, and I was like, okay, give me a
sorry.
second. I'll get there.
Do we know how much of an increase in salary it would be from changing from town planner to town planner 3?
So civil services guidelines are like a little bit different than our steps, right? Sorry. But like right now, and I'm sure this is what ISMAT did. I think I'm a 21 and I said 23, which is, I could still work. I'm maxing myself at 117 and I'm below a lot, but I'm just trying to be conservative here. So I make like, and I apologize, I'm not perfectly perfect in ISMAT. I know this better. In between 85 and 88, I'm not 100% sure which step I am. And then it would go to like 100. So like that's probably $12,000 different.
So right now you're at,
Right?
I think it was
Okay.
11 something.
Yeah, okay.
so you're at about 95 now and you would go to around 100?
No, I think I'm at 85. I'm either at 85 or 88. Yep.
So then you would go up to 90?
I would go up to 100. This is what I was requesting.
Okay, from 85 to 100? Yes? Okay.
Yes, yep.
All right. And do we know how much if you went from town planner to town planner 2?
Yeah, the 51. That's what I'm saying. So the civil service titles are different than like our steps. You could say town planner 2 or town planner 3 based on which civil service title you felt that it would fall in, but it wouldn't change what step that you guys would assign. So based on the description between town planner 2, town planner 3, that would be like, okay, we're going to, that would be the appropriate title. You manage people, like you oversee a whole lot more than what the town planner civil service job, typically entails. So. And again, just for reference, like the assessor, is at a higher step and grade than I am now. Deputy highway superintendent is higher. Deputy police chief, these seem like big numbers. And I think that's just because the town of Niskayuna has a very generous salary, but even if you compare to the surrounding kind of adjacent communities, like I said, I think that there's definitely,
Thank you.
yep. Yeah, thanks guys for listening.
Thank you. Thank you.
You want to go ahead? I haven't seen that yet, a grade yet.
So this is not in our budget. It's something that's bothered me a little bit. My one clerk, Annette Bombach, she has not had a pay raise. And it's something I had talked to Janet about. And I think we had kind of found a step that we could do to get her a pay raise. She sits right across from Andrea, and Andrea makes like, I don't know, $20,000 more than she does. And I mean, I know it's a civil service test type thing that makes the difference, but still,
We would have to review the salary schedule. The town board would have to review the salary schedule. So she's at the lowest grade that we have, but she's at that grade because she's not in a competitive position. She's not taken a test. She hasn't shown any interest in taking a test. And the next grade up, which is a grade 8, I believe she's at a 7, the next grade is 8, becomes tested positions.
Right, we've had this issue in the past with other people in similar positions, like in engineering and other places, right, Janet? It's all the same issue, right?
Yes. So
Yeah.
I mean, if the board wanted to, you could, do another grade in between and reset the salary schedule, but, you do have to consider that it's non-competitive versus competitive.
yeah, I mean,
And within a collective bargaining agreement. Because she's in the CSEA white collar.
yeah, it's just something that, she's a hard worker, she's dedicated,
So it is not in here, just to let you
and
know.
it is not in my
It's not in
budget.
here, that just request came in, so I said, go ahead and talk about it.
How much is the cash value of it?
How much is it?
Whatever you want to make it.
Yeah, I mean, I just,
In between two steps, so what would the in between of two steps be, like $1,500?
It's pretty low.
yeah, I like we had talked about it, I don't know off the top of our head, but it's just something that has been kind of bothering me.
Okay, so there has to be a new salary schedule?
Well, yeah, so this, and that would have to go, you'd have to do that in conjunction with the CSEA, because it's part of a bargaining agreement. So they have steps that start at 7 and go to, I believe, like an 18.
Mm-hmm.
Supervisory and non-supervisory, and she would be non-supervisory. But you can't move her from a 7 to an 8 because everybody on a step 8 is competitive.
Right.
So you'd have to figure something in between perhaps.
I think that's what we did
Right.
for the other person once. We gave them a half step and then they ended up taking the test.
They
because
would
it was
have to take the
endless.
test. You get to a point where you're
Right.
sort of
Right.
forced to do it, right?
So we did, they will input the approximate value.
No, just tell us what it is. We have
Yeah.
a lot of decisions to make. This is
Exactly.
one of
But
many.
they put it into our
Mm.
So I didn't actually know that this was where I would bring it up, that's why I had to talk to Ismat. The only other thing we have is our cars, and I would have Mike speak to that because he runs our car program.
Hello, everyone. I'm not sure what number was put forth for cars,
150.
50,
150.
that's what you requested.
Okay, that seems high.
Okay, that's good news. Glad you stepped up, Mike.
That's
They've
good
got
news.
3 cars there, 2 patrol and they're
Yeah,
unmarked.
I mean, I would stress that we want to stay on that schedule. That schedule's been working out well for us. We're actually getting to the point now where we could kind of see the fruition of that schedule. 6 years ago, when I took my position, we had a fleet that was just shot. Old, we put $3,000 into a car that was literally worth $1,500. And that was when Supervisor Landry was here, Chief McManus and I had approached them and said, a schedule would probably be a good thing. And we're getting to a point now where we have replaced both the patrol and the admin fleet. Admin, we consider anything that's unmarked. So detective cars, Chief Wall's car, my car, we've replaced all those. And we're getting to a point where if we start to sell those off now, the first one we bought was a 2016 Impala. Roughly, it's got like 25,000 miles on it now. Could we get more life out of it? Absolutely. No question we could. But if we put more life into it, are we just going to kill the resale of it down the road? Part of the process, or part of the grand plan was if we put them on a schedule, we're replacing them every 5-6 years, we're going to get more money in resale for them. We haven't sold one yet to see what we get for it. I would think that car would based on what we typically get for cars and stuff, that would probably get close to $10,000 on that Auctions International. We do well on it. And we could actually put it out there as an admin-only vehicle versus a patrol vehicle,
Patrol,
which obviously
always
get
running.
beat on a lot more. The other thing we're running into now, which is a good thing for us, two good things. In the patrol end of things, if we remember back in 17, we made the choice, we had to get away from the Impala and the Tahoe, and we went to the Explorer, which in my opinion has been probably the best police car we've ever had all around, except maybe the old Chevys.
Not
Way-
just yours, but the officers themselves have told me that they.
Yeah,
that
the officers
vehicle
like
is
them. The
much
room in
better.
them is nice. We're able to carry more equipment in them, mainly for closing down roads and stuff. Every vehicle is outfitted now with extra cones, flares, things like that. So when you have a major accident, we can shut the road down. When we drove sedans, we didn't really have that ability to do that. So that's been nice of them. But in 17, when we made that choice, we ran into a problem where we had to start putting new equipment on them also, new lighting, cages, because it wouldn't transfer over from an Impala to an Explorer. There was an elevated cost to that, obviously, putting new equipment on them. But we're to the point now where all the patrol fleet has already received all that new equipment. And the plan was always to try to get 2 lifespans out of it, so 6 years. So the cars next year, we should also see our upfitting costs go down.
Oh, good.
We're doing 1 car like that this year. Our bills, when we were putting new stuff out, I don't have the paperwork with me, to be honest with you, so I'm kind of guesstimating here. We were in the area of 12 to 13.5, I think, for upfitting costs.
They're about, I think, 14,000 in 19 and maybe about 30,000, something around 40,000. And the last one I signed was about like maybe 4,500. So
Yeah, that was transitioning a car from patrol into a traffic car, so we didn't do a full thing on it. But that's my point. We're kind of around 13, 14,000. The first one that we're going to actually see where we're taking stuff off of one car and putting it onto another car, our costs are going to drop. The estimate on that one's 8,500. And both cars next year will be that lower number. Again, these are 2020 numbers. I always hate this part of trying to figure out what the cost is going to be, the increase. The good news is from 19 to 2020, the patrol cars actually went down in price. The actual purchase of the car, which was kind of shocking. That was probably because of the introduction of the Dodge Durango that came into the market and just gave Ford some competitors. The price on the cars actually dropped about $700 last year, which is very rare because a couple of years before that, we only saw increases in big ones. Ford has a winner, so they started charging more for it. But the Fords have been fantastic for us. Maintenance has been down on them. They've been reliable. The one that's being swapped over right now has 130,000 miles on it. And overall, we've had a couple on that one. We had to do a transmission on it. There were a couple of things on it, but no Impala ever went that much before they were blown up. So we're seeing an increase there.
So you are proposing that you are going to sell three cars and then those are replacement cars or these are new cars? And you said 150 is high. This is the number we got. So what do you think it should be?
The number, again, based off of 2020 numbers, I came around 119.
But that didn't include upfitting?
And to get that number so we're all clear, I took the cost of last year, we paid $32,399 for 2 patrol cars. So multiply that times 2 and then roughly 9,000 with the increase for the changeover. So we're looking around, ladies, you're better at math than me.
41, 399.
Okay.
So that's about 42.
Okay. So 2 of those.
That's 84.
And then in the admin end of stuff, the price on that car was $32,789, and there was about $5,000 to upfit that car.
32 or 37.
It's 2. Looks like a 7, but it's 2. That car's upfitting was about $5,000 because in the admin cars, we don't put as much lighting into them. They don't need computers and stuff. It's basically just lights so they can get calls if they need to. But there are other options out there. That's an Explorer also. The Explorers have been very good to us. We have a few of them in the admin and a few of them are in all patrol. They've been good. There are other options. We could go to a sedan. The only sedan option out there right now, in terms of an admin car, would be the Dodge Charger. I've heard horror stories in the patrol section of them, departments that have them. Most of them got away from them because they were not maintenance worthy. But every department I've talked to that's used them as an admin purpose, they've been pretty decent. So that's an option where you could potentially save money.
What admin vehicle would you be replacing?
Well, actually, Chief Wall and I talked about that a couple hours ago. Our admin fleet right now is made up of, I believe, 4 vehicles. They're all 2016s. So I would probably look at, based on mileage. If the years are all the same, I'd probably just look on mileage.
But you got different vehicles. Some are Fords. You got a Jeep.
Yeah, so we have 2 Jeeps that are both 16s, and 2 Impalas that are both 16s. I personally think the Impala is going to probably bring more on the market than the Jeep is, but I don't know for sure. It's a guesstimate also. But we do it probably based on mileage at that point.
What's John's card? Jeep?
John's a Jeep. Yep. So
the 150 is the most worst case scenario, and that doesn't include trading in the vehicles that they're
and I think
selling off.
Apparently not. Yeah.
I think I can beat 150, to be honest with you. I think this year we were at like 148, I think, and I think we're gonna be around closer to 120 something.
Okay, so you want to go from 150, 120.
I will leave that to Chief Will.
Why don't we go 125, just so that we're safe?
No,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to,
I mean, I would,
I mean, if we.
that 119 number I came up with is actually following the exact numbers what we paid this year. If we're gonna have to estimate some sort of increase in equipment, increase in the actual purchase of the vehicle, you're gonna probably wanna leave some sort of window there, but if we followed all the exact numbers we paid this year, it was 119.
okay,
So I would leave that to
put
you guys.
125 in case,
Okay.
and that's the replacement of,
That would get us 3 Fords, three more of the Explorers.
So it'd
that's
be,
what you need or what do you need?
so that's 2 patrol cars and a DD.
2 patrol cars and an admin car.
And a,
Okay, unmarked. That's before the admin. Okay,
Yeah, anything
it's-
unmarked we consider
it's
admin.
okay, got it. Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know if that made sense. If there's any questions, I can try to clarify them for you.
Understand.
Yep.
And I got it, yeah.
Thank you.
My work here is done. That's yours.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope. You're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am waiting for Ray.
Okay.
Let me check.
I'll look for you.
Can you see if Ray's out there?
Send Ray in if he's outside.
I believe I saw him, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good evening.
Hey, Ray.
Evening.
There we go. What do we want to talk about first, bonding?
I redid these like you had requested, Bill, with the approximate of the value of the things that we would be getting rid of. And that's basically what I know they're a large window, but we based that off of what Options International is bringing.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
No.
No, I put what we may get on a trade.
Got it, got it. Okay. Thank you.
So Ray, we're just talking about vehicles with the police department, and that sort of ties right into your department. You know, the police have gotten on or they're getting on a more regular schedule, replacing their vehicles and on a regular basis to keep maintenance costs down on their vehicles and keep their fleet in much better condition than it had been like 10 years ago or whatever. And so they sort of have program that they're getting 2-3 vehicles every year, 2 patrol, 1 admin, that sort of thing. So again, I'm bringing this up to ask if you've got something like that, because you deal with plows and trucks. You have a lot of trucks. And I know that Councilwoman Jakewith has discussed fleet management programs and stuff like that. So tell me about.
Well, we tried to get a program off the ground, and I know Paul was in support of it, initiating going forward. Specialty equipment such as big plows and stuff, you're not going to turn over as quickly. It's not worth it to you. You're paying good money for them. They're specialty vehicles. So we kind of gauged a 10 to 15 year life expectancy on big plow trucks and stuff like that before they start getting into major repairs, and just the turnover, the money return is not there if you go beyond that. Small pickups and such, Paul supported what we buy them for on state contract. And if we kept them for 3 years was our target, was 3 years. The market is very high on pickups. So we would almost get our money back and basically invest in tires and maybe a set of brakes for them 3 years. So he thought that the return would be good on such things as pickup trucks. 1-ton dumps, another specialty thing. Although they bring good money, the usefulness of them, I think they could go on a, 5 to 8 years and still get a good return on them. We were working into that slowly. One of Paul's thoughts was that, we needed to be put in a position where at least 1 year we needed to be able to pay cash for them rather than bond them. And that was going to get us started in a program just to see where it would go. So although we did do that at the beginning of this year, we put money forth for 3 pickups to start this program. That was before all this COVID thing started. We kept the money in the bank to be returned back to the fund balance. With the uncertainty at the beginning of this year, we didn't feel it was the right thing to do. So, basically that got put on hold for now. We still don't know where we're at with the current situation. So maybe that's something to look at down the road.
Okay.
These items that I put on here are just recommendations from me to you, as far as efficiency and usefulness of these vehicles. Everything on here has been through the body shop at least once, patched, repaired, painted. That's why we get the life out of them that we do. We deal with these vehicles every day, so we know the quirks and the things that are wrong with them, and that's why we make the recommendations to replace them.
So Ray, this first one, the tandem dump truck with plow, swing and sander, it's $250,000. You're requesting a new one to replace a 2001. Is that 2001 in service?
It is in service.
And okay, it's 19 years old. You said all of these have been through at least once. How many miles does it have on it?
It's got over 100,000 miles on it.
Okay.
And it's been through the body shop. It's had the box rebuilt on the back.
And this is stuff you do in-house, right? The repairs?
We do.
Okay.
And one of the things with these ones that we started to replace, including this one, is Sterling trucks they're out of business. And that was a good majority of our fleet was Sterlings. At one time, they were very affordable. They were a good buy. Unfortunately, they went out of business. Parts are harder to find, longer to get. And, like you say, it's 19 years old. So your 15-year window of reliability, we're beyond that. We've sunk a lot of money into it. parts are hard to get. Sometimes you got to wait a long time. So if you can get them. So that's my reasoning on that.
Is this the same trucks we use for leaves too? Is this
Yes,
when you
they-
convert? Okay,
Yep.
so they're on the road
Yep.
all the time.
So, once, and keep in mind, like last year that I was given money for vehicles, I haven't received them yet. So it takes you almost a full year to get a vehicle. So I'm waiting on ones that I purchased last year. So, I've heard it said, oh, we're always buying trucks. Well, I mention them at committee, then they go to the budget, then they go to bonding, then, you purchase them, and then I mention when we get them. So it sounds as if we're getting pickup trucks every other week, or trucks. It's just a process. I try to keep you notified when they come in, but realistically, if I got bonding this year, I would not have that truck till after the first of next year. So just a reminder, that takes that 19-year-old truck and puts it at 20 plus. So, over the years, I've scaled down my list of requests. I could give you $2 to $3 million worth of equipment that we could use. I try to keep the same frame of dollar amount to keep it reasonable. I'm always willing to, sit down and discuss what is definitely needed and what can be removed. I have to look out for dependability and being out there for the residents the best we can. So, like I say, it's just recommendations to what we would like to replace.
What one would you most strongly recommend replacing?
Number one.
Number one.
And if you notice, I classify these within highway budget and general fund, depending on, what needs there are.
And does that 250 include any type of trade-in value on the existing truck?
We found we get a lot more money to sell them outright at auction. Unfortunately, we took a real hit this year because we had a motor blow in the other 2000, actually newer than this one. So we basically sold it for scrap. We went from what was probably a $15,000 to $18,000 vehicle to $4,500. So that's what happens when they just go too long.
What's the dollar amount on paving?
What's that?
Paving?
I didn't ask for any bonding money.
You're not going to do anything, you have it all in your budget?
I have money in my budget, and we have bonding that we did last year for
Right.
paving. So what we did last year, you did $400,000 for paving. 200,000 was set aside for Lock 7.
Yep.
200,000 was set aside for Knott Street East. We held off on Knott Street East because of the construction up above. Fortunately, we got Lock 7 done about $40,000 to $50,000 under budget for the whole project. So that gives us a balance of $250 to put on top of our 500 paving balance
That's great.
for this year.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. No one mentioned that. That's great. Right. I told Matt that the 2 trucks he requested were probably unlikely. That would get you to 602 and him to 604 in our never-ending goal of parity.
Mhm.
Okay? I just want you to know that, because I know Matt's number was much bigger than yours. And I didn't give you in my mind, I don't give you the 75 for the senior bus, because I know that's not a dream come true for you.
Right.
Yeah, it's not that old either. I mean, I know there's a lot of rust on it, but to Councilwoman McGraw's point.
I'm willing to give it to him. I'm just not saying it's in his ledger, right? We just try to keep them as even as possible. And I know, you're not really saying, boy, I really need a senior bus, Councilwoman Jakewith. I know.
Well, no, it's just, again, a recommendation. we've gone over and picked the seniors up at the Walmart with our rack truck.
I know you have. I know you have. Where does that
Although they
senior
like
bus?
to ride once in a while, it's not really that good.
So Ray, the only question I have on the bus, and Rosemary just mentioned it too. Your stuff, you have trucks that are 10, 15, 20 years old, as we just said, and they look brand new.
Mhm.
How come this bus has rust on it and stuff? I mean, that's not the way you keep things. Where does that bus go?
I don't.
Right? I mean, your stuff, it shines, it gleams. You can see everything looks gorgeous, all your stuff, and no matter how old it is.
The seniors like to party in that bus, I think.
Apparently.
Most of the bus, other than a few nicks and scars on the top, most of the concern with the bus is what's underneath.
Right.
The
Okay.
bus is just a mess underneath.
No, you've said that before. I'm
Salt.
not questioning it or doubting it.
No.
It just jumped out at me because none of your stuff ever, even the plow trucks, even the stuff, you just keep such good care of everything. I don't know what we're doing with this bus that's just different.
One of the things that, by being there with your fleet all the time is, when you start to see surface rust, before it becomes a hole, you bring it in,
right.
That's how we keep what we have the way we do. Our vehicles are washed every time we plow snow, every time. And I know other departments wash their trucks. The bus, unfortunately, we bring it in and wash it periodically for the bus driver. We clean the snow off of it for him in the morning to try to get him out on the road. But it's just one of them things, we're finding that the newer vehicles don't hold up as well as the older ones.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're made out of the same stuff. So.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get off on a thing, but it jumped out at the page at me. I know it's not the way you keep your stuff, so.
No, that's fine, and, we try to pass that along to everybody that needs it, so. Yep. So, we'll talk about salaries quick. I don't know if you guys have, do you have my submittal, what I turned in with my budget?
We didn't get it again.
Just have raises.
Okay, so I'll give you what I submitted this year, and I'll give you what I submitted last year. Just go through it. So there's 19 and 20.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So every year I turn these in with my
Yeah. Thank you.
budget. And based on, as close as I can come to the job description of others, is what I base my request on for my crew leaders. Everybody has a job to do, I get that. I've asked for little bits in the past, previous to these requests. I'd asked for, 50 cents for the COLA, just to keep up with the times. We ask a lot of these guys, they're out in the middle of the night. They're the face of our town to our residents. And, I'm their only, they don't get a chance to sit at the table and negotiate a salary increase or any better benefits or anything that others have the opportunity to do. They're solely, by my recommendation. So I did ask for many years, a little bit at a time. really didn't receive it. So, I'm just asking for, I label it as parity in comparison to the closest job title to theirs. So that's what I'm asking for. In my mind, they really deserve it. I gave some stuff last year, upwards of 40 plus calls outside of their working hours. They're always there. They're always available. And I know many others are also. So in that reasoning, that's kind of why I ask, to give them something. They have no other means of getting it. So, also this year I had the opportunity to sit down with Ismat, and I found the money to pay for their raise out of my budget. In addition to what was taken out of my budget from the tentative to the preliminary. And then I sat down again and gave more money back just before the preliminary to help ease the burden of the tax cap without stealing any services from our residents. I just found some budgets that I could lose a little bit in without impacting anything. And on top of that, I found the money to fund their requested raises.
So Ray, I just want to jump in. So for those listening, we're talking about 6 work crew leaders, right? That are not represented, not on the salary schedule. I just want to be clear. It's not like we have a lot of employees that next year, despite everything, under contract, under salary schedule, are going to get steps, grades, increases.
Mm-hmm.
These 6 guys, as I understand it, have not in a number of years. And just by way of history, right, in 2018, there were water and sewer.
Working crew leader.
Maintenance crew leaders were brought up to their salary, your 6 guys' salary, for parity purposes. And then, of course, they were on a schedule. They've continued to receive increases. And these 6 individuals that you're talking about tonight did not, because again,
Right.
they're hourly, they're not represented, they're not on a schedule, and like most of our employees are and will receive increases next year.
Correct.
And to your point, these are the guys that get called in the middle of the night, they leave their families, they leave their snow, they leave their houses without power, and they take care of our roads and our power and everybody else's. So, I mean, these are to your point, this is the face of, of the town. These are the guys that everybody sees and expects to be, picking up limbs and addressing power outages and snow and leaves and et cetera. So there are working class people. I fully support this. In addition to, even if you hadn't found the efficiencies in your own budget, I'd say it's the right thing to do. They're do it. But on top of that, the fact that you, through your own efficiencies in your own budget, have found a way to fund what I thought was like 18.5, but I know you rounded to to 20. Yeah, just so again, day in, day out, we rely on them, and I think it's the right thing to do. So I fully support it.
Thank you.
So just for clarification, they are not reflected in the budget and they're across, but some of the people, they're across all funds because some of them are allocated from a couple of people. And that's it. So, but they're not reflected yet, but the money is there.
So the request is $1.50 per hour increase to the working crew leaders, right? And there's 6 of them.
There's 6 of them.
And that'd be, looks like a total of $20,000 a year. And that's over and above their COLA, yes? Okay.
There are no COLAs.
They did not get COLA. Nobody.
Oh, they don't get COLA.
Nobody got it.
Okay.
That's why I made the point about the other stuff. They're not, most of our employees are on a schedule or they have a collective bargaining agreement where they're going to get increases next year. So it's not like we have a freeze. These guys are just not in any part. They're not in a schedule. They're not in a collective bargaining agreement, and they're not getting, as of right now, nobody's getting a COLA, so they'll be frozen completely.
And they've been pretty much stagnant for the last 4 to 5 years with nothing but a COLA. So, you know, they watch, you know, and they're out there for us, and I truly support them. They support me. They make, you know, they're a big part of what makes our department, which makes our town. So,
So, but I just want to be clear, they're not getting a COLA this year because no one's getting a COLA. But in the
See,
past,
we weren't privy to,
well, I don't know. I'm just saying, but that's what that ends of the conversation, that
Right.
end of the table. But
Previously, you got,
Previously, they got COLAs.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
not, okay.
right.
Correct.
Just like everybody else did, yes.
Right.
This year,
and
admin are not getting the COLA.
So I have a question just as a point of comparison. The, I believe it's 2 or 3 individuals in the water and sewer department. Are they on a step and a grade schedule?
yes,
Okay, but the working crew leaders were never put on a step and a grade schedule?
No.
Has there ever been discussion about just putting them on a step and a grade schedule so that?
well, one of the problems that we would incur in going on a salary grade schedule, which if you made an overtime provision for them, that would be something that was lightly discussed in the past. I know in the handbook, salary people do not get overtime.
OT.
So for every hour that they're here, that means they're off an hour. So,
I see, so
Right,
the
this was a
individuals-
conscious decision. This wasn't, you know,
Right.
let's make sure we all are talking about the same set of facts.
No, I
It's a
understand.
conscious
I mean, there's been
decision.
a lot of things
Yeah.
thrown out there of ways to cure this and, you know, but
Yeah, no, I
the
understand.
current
that the OT
situation doesn't allow for, at one point in time, we had myself, Pete, and one crew leader was on the salary schedule. And the conflict was, we all couldn't be off at the same time.
Right,
We
right.
can't abandon the ship. So if you go and add 6 people on this, there's really, management runs our department, and you have to be there.
Yeah, no, I understand now why that decision was made. I was just trying to figure that out, if that conversation ever took place and what was the reasoning behind that, but that makes sense.
Yeah, and, you know, you just can't, every time somebody's out, you have to backfill. You know, it's an upgrade. It'll actually cost you more money to do it that way.
Yeah,
So that's what I come forth. Those are my reasons. Basically mirror my reasons in the past, so
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
thank you.
thanks, Ray.
Have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Okay. So we'll keep moving along because we have a few more things to get to. Does anyone have any questions before I move on to just the update on the budget document that you've been provided? Okay, all right, we'll keep moving. So everyone has been provided from the comptroller's office. Thank you, Isma and Janet, for compiling all of these. The amended preliminary budget for 2021. I'll quickly go over the changes. So there's also a document that was circulated. It's titled at the top, Modifications to the 2021 Preliminary Budget. So these are the main drivers, very briefly, just very, very high level. Our non-taxable revenue increased by approximately $126,000. Taxable revenue increased by approximately $80,000. Our appropriated fund balance, so this is total town, by the way. The very top bracket is total town. So this is across all funds. Our appropriated fund balance allotment decreased by $872,000 approximately. So accordingly, the appropriations decreased by around $666,000. So you can see where those numbers tie into across all funds. So we have those funds laid out: general fund, highway fund, the sewers and waters. So the general fund and highway fund are the most important because they really are the drivers of the homestead, non-homestead tax rate. So in general fund, you can see that number ties to the non-tax revenue, the increase of $126,000. Taxes decreased by $86,000. The appropriated fund balance we brought down from approximately $1.3 million from the prelim budget to $800,000 in the amended prelim budget. So that's a decrease of $500,000. And accordingly, the appropriations decreased by approximately $337,000. Now, it is going to be a challenge. And again, with the highway fund, so these two funds were the determining factors in that. So we did lay out a challenge, and that challenge is going to be a challenge that can be accomplished throughout 2021. We hope we can reach it, but in order to reach such a sizable decrease in the fund balance appropriation, which we really felt was, important, taking into consideration all the comments and questions that we've heard thus far, we are going to be implementing, or we would like to implement, what we're calling a 4% challenge. So each department head, every single cost center, we're going to challenge to reduce expenditures or increase revenues by 4%. If that is accomplished, we can successfully reduce our appropriated fund balance level by approximately $500,000 or more. We're hoping for more.
Has there been any discussion with any of the department heads outside of obviously the one that's here about doing this? Or they're not aware of this, we're seeing this and they don't know anything about it yet? Is that correct, Supervisor?
At this point, yes.
Because it seems like something pretty tricky to spring on them the 11th hour, and that they haven't, participated in or even have any knowledge of yet. I just, spent an hour before, you guys sent out the email this afternoon about 2:00. I came over here at 3 and sat down and looked through it for an hour, and I saw some issues. But again, without the department head's participation or even knowledge of it, again, I like the idea, of course, we want to increase the massive amounts of fund balance that we've been doing, but I'm apprehensive at best that this is the way to do it, especially without our department head's participation in the process. So again, we just got this a couple of hours ago. People have to look at it, and we don't have a big turnaround time. But just wanted to note, a quick glance, an hour going through it, there are some issues. And again, the one that's the most glaring is the fact that the department heads don't even know about it.
Are there technical things that you found?
So it just in looking.
Or substantive? I mean,
Yeah, so like so they've gone through each category, or, each grouping, sort of apply to 4%. In like 2 or 3 instances, I saw that it couldn't effectuate it without cutting into salaries. So that's a problem. And again, that while it might sound at first glance sort of equitable, the fact of it is that a lot of the cost drivers in our budget are not controlled by our department heads. And so I'm going to speak more to this tomorrow, but it seems to me that that's where the efforts in terms of cost cutting and saving our residents money should be, put into. That's where the energy and the time should be put into, not into the individual departments. Again, they don't control a lot of those things, and certainly not the big ticket items.
Understood. So we have also, in addition, the increased revenue, as I said before. That's laid out on page 3. So like I said, we had an increased real property taxes, non-homestead, homestead tax increase, 2%. We increased franchise fee revenue to be more appropriate to revised projections that we did an analysis on, so that's an increase of approximately $46,000. There's also an increase to mortgage tax revenue, again, after the same exercise was performed with the revised projection. So that's an increase of $80,000. So all of that combined, and then there are other things that need to be considered as well, and those are laid out on page 2 in point D. So those really are the mechanisms by which any fund balance appropriation could be mitigated. There's only so many ways that we can decrease that number. And so this really was, this document and the ideas that we came up with was in an effort to reduce our reliance on that fund balance appropriation. Because we recognize that if COVID continues into next year, it's serious. It was serious this year. It's going to be very serious next year.
So are we appropriating about, what, just under 2 million or about 1.7 of fund balance?
So the amended prelim budget, this document here. that's-
And I guess in total, I don't know if I'm doing it properly.
So
So
it's
I'm
right here,
adding up
Jonathan.
the appropriated fund balance in each category.
It's this number right here, John. It's the 1.383868. So that's across all funds.
Okay, that's it in total.
Yep.
Thank
And
you.
again, you're welcome. And that was decreased from the prelim budget, which was at 2.256.
And with what tax rate, again, Supervisor? With-
Homestead tax rate of 2%.
And what's the tax cap this year? What's our tax calculation?
It's a little over 2%
Right.
with the carryover. Yeah, I know. You have that number.
Old, right?
Something like that, yeah. Yep, just over 2%.
So I've got another question. What happens if the board doesn't vote for this? Refresh my memory. It goes to the tentative budget, the preliminary budget. We've got this budget that we got here today. I've got so many here.
Yeah,
Let
it's
me
like
see.
our third, probably.
It's stamped on it November 18th. This isn't recorded with our clerk, correct? So this document hasn't been, it's an amended preliminary budget. This budget here, November 3rd, is the budget that's recorded with the clerk. Is this the fallback budget?
So,
If the council does not approve the budget?
so this is in part a legal question as well. So Paul Briggs, I don't know if you want to weigh in at any certain point. It's section of town law, section 109, that governs what this is. So I have, so this is section 109, subsection 3, for lack of a better term. They lay it out in 3 points. Upon the adoption of the resolution required by this section, the amounts proposed to be appropriated shall thereupon be appropriated. In the event that the town board shall fail to adopt a budget as of the 20th day of November, or in towns in Westchester and Monroe counties as of the 20th day of December, the preliminary budget with such changes, alterations, and revisions, if any, as shall have been made by the town board shall constitute the budget for the ensuing fiscal year. So, based off of that, I would say it would be the document that was available for the public hearing. That's what my understanding of it is, but
That's my
again, I don't know.
understanding. I think that's what it was last year, right?
That's the
Yeah.
November
Jen?
3rd budget.
That's what it would
And
be.
can you guys get for us for tomorrow, what the actual tax cap number is? Like with the carryover and all of that, because it might actually be a little over, it might be more than the 2,
Mm-hmm.
might be, not that anyone's looking to go there, but.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a little over 2.
We just filed yesterday, 2020.
And then I think Paul Briggs, you know the answer to this. These additional changes, I believe, and I believe you're the one who told me this, would require an additional public hearing. Okay.
Which we don't have time for. Correct? Because we're supposed to be voting on this tomorrow. And there's no time to notice another public hearing on another budget. I was afraid of this. When we had our first Zoom meeting, I said, with COVID and everything coming, we've got to watch the money. We've got to be very careful about what's going on. And that didn't happen. And now we're looking at, some very serious numbers here. 1.3 million that's projected for being used in 2020. Is that right? Yeah.
No, more like
3 million to be used in 2020.
altogether, I think it's just looking at the general fund.
Right,
I'm
that's the
sorry,
question.
that's
I
just
think
the
guys
general.
are just, so,
And now I'm looking at even more in 2021, 1.38 million. 4%, we need 10% to be cut from everybody's budget
to the total.
to right the ship,
Yeah, total.
if these numbers are correct, which I'm assuming they are. You've worked very hard on these numbers. And I look back at appropriated fund balance for the years past up to 18, 19, very small numbers, 100, 170,000. And then some of those years that wasn't even used.
No, I agree. I will disagree on one point, though, that, nobody took COVID seriously this year. It was a totally unforeseen circumstance. Who could have predicted this? It came with it, coming with that came various appropriations that were necessary.
No, I'm not saying that what you didn't take
but I
it
will-
serious.
Well, but I'll say, proof of how serious we took it. I sent a memo out internally asking for hiring freezes and spending freezes. And so I feel like, we took the appropriate actions as much as we could. If those weren't abided by, for whatever reason, that's unfortunate. But this is the stopgap. We really, really need to take that seriously next year. It can't be something we talk about and don't implement. We have to talk about it, but implement it.
So how do we go about implementing this budget? If we can't vote on it tomorrow, what's the solution?
Well, then
Or on Thursday?
Well, if we don't, if it doesn't come up for a vote, is that what you're saying? So don't have a resolution with the final, or?
Well, no, we
adoption of the
don't,
final?
we have to have a hearing, right? In order to, I thought that's what we just established.
That's not my
So
understanding.
we have to go back to,
So we've never done a hearing in the past when we have changes between the preliminary and the final. So last year, if you remember, we made many changes between the preliminary and the final. And so that's the whole purpose and the exercise of voting as a resolution with the final budget, is that document becomes the final budget.
We didn't have a hearing after we
We
made the
didn't
changes last year,
afterwards,
no.
no.
After the first, we did not.
Right, we will need public hearings if we want to increase rates or anything else that this document would effectuate.
Yeah.
So that would come in November or December, excuse me. So we would call for, the necessary public hearings tomorrow for any of those rate increases. But so if say for conversation's sake, this is going to be a resolution for tomorrow for, if it's motion doesn't carry, the preliminary budget, the document that was made available for the public hearing 2 weeks ago, just like last year, that document would become the final budget.
That is what happened last year.
Correct. Yep, so it'd be the same process repeated. I can understand the 4% challenge, that kind of last minute, spring on everyone. I can understand that being an issue. Motions can be made from the floor for amendments.
I think the department heads probably felt like they've already done that, right? I mean, Ray sat down with you
They have.
and gave back. Matt sat down with you. I think they probably felt that they've already done that.
Right.
Isma, did you want to add something?
I just want to say something, that the prelim budget that we gave you 2 weeks ago had all the rate increases in it.
Correct.
So the only difference that is reflected is here, and the last one is the use of less fund balance.
Correct.
The 4%, the higher revenues, and the third thing is there was a little bit of change in our the final frozen roll, the taxable assessed value, so that is reflected in that. So those are the only changes, but all the fee increases, the new programs, the new revenues, everything was in the previous one.
And I believe that's reflected in this document, correct? Let me just
Yeah.
take a look. So if you just go through any one of the pages, there's a column on the very far right that goes through, these are the challenge.
Which are you looking at?
That's the challenge.
So we reflected in this one, the difference is showed is just the chart, because
Okay.
we took the amended, trillion budget, and just the only difference is increase in the revenue, less fund balance, and the challenge. That's showed in the last slide in my column.
Yeah, again, to Councilman McPartland's point, folks went through this, and I don't think, again, springing this on them at the 11th hour is, not only feasible, but, we can't count on this happening without them having any participation, in it at this time. And again, I told you there were areas where I saw it was going to be an issue, it was going to cut into salaries if you work by the numbers, and I'll point those out to you after. But anyway, again, I understand the equity of it, or at least on its surface that it's equitable. But as I said previously, there are a number of lines that our department heads don't have any control over. And we talked about these in terms of, shared services, and also, big driver in this budget is, our insurances. I calculated that, we pay 3.2 or 3.3 million in, health, dental, vision. They don't have any control over that. And that's a big ticket item. And again, we've been talking about, rebidding. It's more equitable to me to address items like that than to have our department heads individually go through and cut, 4% here, 4% there, that might actually affect services.
So, but I think it's a combination of both. There's a crisis and we don't have the money. And if we do take it out of fund balance at the level that it's required, the fund balance will be gone in a year or two. I mean, so that's the reality of it. So, Ismet, walk us through, because you have looked at the insurance and you have looked at all of these things. And I want to be very careful about this, because I know how hard you and Janet have worked on this. And I don't want this to be I don't want you to take this as a reflection of our feelings about your efforts. They have been Herculean, as I said today. You came in late. It was somebody else's budget. You did what you could, and you got us this far. I think, though, you have a lot of other ideas on how we can save money, but we can't get there today. We can't renegotiate our insurance contract, even though you would love to. All of these things. So you have a whole laundry list of things that you would like to be able to do. You can rattle them off now, you can get them to us later. But how much time would you need? And do we have any, I don't know who can answer this, if it's you, do we have any flexibility? Do we vote no on this budget and then try to push something out where you can then give us a new fiscal plan 6 months out? I mean, I just don't know. And a lot of this is COVID, and a lot of this, we were in a great place before COVID. So,
Again.
and so we brought in a new comptroller in the middle of the whole thing to, even make it even more fun. So yeah, so what do you, this as well as anybody in the capital region.
So I will can I speak candidly?
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's televised, but I will say, I am just a numbers person, and I will give you my suggestion and what I'm seeing, and I'm not going to bend the pencil, but the pencil is telling us. We can look at what the numbers are telling us, and we can make plans how to fix it. We are looking, this is our short-term goal right now. Fiscally, we are not in a good position. We have had, in the past, we have seemed like that there has been a structured imbalance or deficit in the budget, no doubt about that. With the COVID, it has become very bad. If at the speed we are going right now of spending this year and next year, this budget and the forecast that I gave you guys a couple of weeks ago, that does not take into consideration a second wave of COVID. And I can guarantee you that if we are there next year or beginning of 2022, we'll be borrowing time to make the salary happen. So we need to, I mean, my suggestion is really look at every single thing. Other municipalities in the past, I mean, look at the whole capital district in the last 20 years. They faced challenges and they reduced things. They came up with new ideas, they think out of the box. And Rosemary, it's not just 4% reduction. It's either you come up with new revenue ideas, and people have proven that over and over again. We can do it, or you can reduce expenses. We have about a year to make up plans, but the plans have to be reasonable and they have to be provable. There are so many things that we can look in the budget and we can say, okay, we can do this, we can do that. We will issue the bid. There will be reduction, but it will take about a quarter to do that. Let's say we do the health insurance consultant bid or any other bids with the health insurance. We are going through open enrollment right now. We can make it effective the end of first quarter. Yeah, we will see some savings, but it's going to take time. And it's difficult to project. I mean, we have projected some of them in supervisor's $60,000 challenge. But there are so many things we can do. Counties ready to talk to us about the intermunicipal agreements. Yeah, we can save money, absolutely. But it takes half a year. I don't know legality, but our goal is that over here together, finance, Janet, myself, and Yasmin, is on a monthly basis, we will show you where we are right now. Show you where monthly we are and what the budget looks like. We provide you in mid-June. We will provide you with a solid forecast. Bill, to your point, yeah, we will be doing the 3-year budget, multi-year budget. We should have been doing multi-year budget. We should have been doing goals-based budget. If we don't look at, I mean, if I look at the numbers where we stand right now, 2 years down the road, we are not in a good shape, the way we are going. So yeah, we need to look at challenges. We need to make some reduction or come up with new revenue sources. Everybody is smart. All the departments have come to the challenge. They are really, really smart. Is there some cushion in the budget? If you look at the history, yes, there is some.
So, and you are anticipating asking people about this 4% of either savings or revenue enhancement. On top of, some of them already did some cutting. You know, Matt sat in a room with you for 2 hours and he really cut. So for him to hear tonight, tomorrow, right now, while he's home watching TV with his family, that he's going to have to cut another 4%, that will probably be somewhat painful for him.
Right, and I just looked at Matt's stuff, for example, Councilwoman McGraw, like his between water and sewer, it's like as I recall, it's about $214,000 that he's got to come up with. That's 4%. So again, to my point, like, you know, that's, you know, it maybe, I just think that's going to come to Councilwoman McGraw's point. It's going to kind of like, that's a lot of money to come up with, to know. And again, of course, everyone worked really hard. And I'm just looking at this again. It's not about the work that was put into it. Clearly, there was a lot of work put into it. It's just again, we're just digesting this literally on the spot. At least I am. And just raising some issues. But how do we get, past this tomorrow? I understand there's work to be done. But as a practical matter, what do we do tomorrow in terms of voting on the budget with knowing that you're working and Janet's working and the supervisor working and that we're all working towards making some changes, including keeping a very close eye on every expenditure moving forward?
So, I mean, other thing you can see, okay, which fund is impacting the residents more, right? It's a fund, it's your general fund and it's your highway fund. Mm-hmm. So look at those two first because they are using, they are at the tax rate and obviously they are using the most fund balance. So do it on a year by year basis. So maybe implement this next year for the general fund and the highway. Year after that, look at the sewer, water, and highway funds. Because to your point, we made some significant changes to it, right? So how much can we are recommending increasing the rates? Yeah, we have done quite a bit. But I think that the other two bigger funds, I think let's start with that. That would be my recommendation. I don't know what to do tomorrow, Paul. I am not legal, but in my past, again, there were cities, but we made changes up till the adopted budget, and until the day of the adopted budget, we will be sitting and making changes to see where the tax rate would be, and that would be adopted by the council. I don't know, this is.
Yeah, I don't know. I just had the impression that we were doing big scale things. I mean, we did a ton of things until the day
Yeah.
last year. I know that. I had the impression that we're going to overhaul everything, or we're going to, have people at each department cut X. I didn't know if we had to. I had the impression we did, but.
I mean, otherwise, the other thing you can do is use more fund balance and put a smaller challenge there, 2% versus more fund balance. I mean.
I don't,
And the challenge.
it can't hurt to challenge them to cut 4%. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? They're all grown adults. They'll either do it or they won't, or they'll give it their best shot and we'll see what we get. Yeah.
And the 4% could be actualized if I'm correct. So say you, and I have every belief that you will accomplish savings from, workers' comp, insurance carriers and our health insurance carriers, which we only accounted for that by a very small portion. And so say you accomplish that can factor into the 4% challenge, correct? Because that will be reflective across all funds, all lines, including salaries. So, we're saying it's a 4% challenge, and, it might seem like, oh, well, what does that really mean? The only place you can take that out may necessarily be salary. No, it could come from employee benefits too. So those are the benefits that we're talking about. And so part of the challenge really is on us too, finance department to
We're in
accomplish.
essence trying to buy ourselves some time.
Correct.
With doing this, right? I mean, that's.
Correct.
We are trying, and then other thing that we are going to talk about later is, look at a couple of other programs, proposals, and see if they are workable. In my just little humble opinion, they were probably workable, and they are not reflected here.
So Ismet, what's the cost if we bond out what I'm looking at here at 1.5? Would we save money if we didn't do this? I mean, I know.
For next year.
You could tell us tomorrow. I don't, but we've just sat here for 2.5 hours talking about pickup trucks and.
Yeah, I've been out of this for a while, so I don't know exactly. All I can tell you is bonding rates are very, very, very low.
I know.
And if we take everything what we have, refinance it, and I'm talking to fiscal advisors, looking at the debt covenant, something we will definitely get some savings for the borrowed money for the outage year, whatever the useful life is left.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I believe it used to be, 5 years ago, that the year two bonds, I believe it was just the interest that hits the first year.
Right.
So the second year is the principal plus the interest. And I think you can turn bands into bonds every 7 years now. So we have that option.
Right.
So look at what we have right now, and we can bond it, because then you have stable debt service and not going up and down.
Okay.
Yeah, to your point, yes, we can definitely, but we just need time. We're buying
Right.
ourselves our time.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions about the amended preliminary budget? Okay.
One more question.
Yep.
250,000 in for septage fees. Is that going to happen?
I'm hopeful it will. Yeah, there should be no reason why we shouldn't be able to actualize that amount.
Where are we with that? Any contracts, has anything been coming forth?
Well, we had our mitigation plan meeting. So that's done and out of the way, so to speak. We're going to work on some changes to that document based off of feedback that we received from the residents. I think it was a productive meeting. I know the Office of the Town Attorney, Paul Briggs specifically, is working on that reply letter to ESG, so that, officially states that we're going to continue the relationship. We're moving forward with this. And again, we've talked about this every committee meeting essentially for Public Works. So we're moving ahead. We're moving forward. Hopefully we can get those contracts executed.
I hope so.
And again, the projection was based off of not actually starting to accrue revenue and accruing it at a very slow increase pace. So we gave ourselves a little bit of leeway time. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly from my schedule, that would be if we started taking in revenue in March. And that'd be, we'd be starting with one contract and then we'd be building up to more contracts thereafter.
The sooner
we-
the better. The sooner the
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
To Councilman McPartland's point, we really need that revenue. There's a big hole in this year's budget because of that lost revenue.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So I'm going to motion to enter into an executive session. I'm going to motion pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 105, subsection E and F, to discuss matters that will involve collective negotiations, to also discuss the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're now going to enter into executive session. At the conclusion of executive session, we will take up no further business. We will be adjourned for the evening.